So thank you everybody for joining us on this GovOS webinar. It's called Easy to Do Business With, How Improving the Business Owner Experience Improves Tax Collections. Today, you're going to hear what we've learned from conversations with tax administrators all across the country about the challenges that they faced around tax collections and the administration of business taxes and business licenses. And to address those challenges and talk about all that fun stuff that we heard, you've got us. This is Austin. Austin is our senior solutions consultant. He supports agencies with product demonstrations like you're going to see today. And he acts as a resource to answer any technical questions that come up about how our solutions work and how we can help achieve the outcomes that our customers care about. And my name is Matt Polovich, and I'm the subject matter expert for tax and licensing here at GovOS. Over the past 12 years, I've been working with associations, nonprofits, and state and local governments to help folks identify technology solutions to achieve their strategic goals. And I have a background in marketing, and before coming to GovOS, I was actually director of customers for an online engagement solution. So very familiar with how engagement can help drive things like revenue. Today, governments across the country are starting to invest in online tax collection platforms, but the biggest challenge that we're hearing from folks is the concern that businesses and business owners aren't going to fully utilize an online solution, meaning that they won't see the return on investment that they were hoping to get from an online process. So today, we're going to share some insights, provide some tips on how you can better engage with your businesses to encourage them to use online compliance solutions. And then we'll show you some of those tools in action today as well as we show a demonstration of our GovOS solution. So let's start at the beginning and let's take a look at the current compliance landscape. A couple of key takeaways for today. First, we're going to discuss that online business licensing and tax collection, how you can implement those best practices. Then we'll go on that software walkthrough to highlight those key features. Finally, we're going to share some industry trends on the challenges that tax administrators face and how those challenges can be addressed with technology. So if you have any questions along the way, go ahead and hit that chat button and let's dive in. So we'll start with some best practices for driving adoption and use of a digital filing portal. Since 2020, really the pandemic has really turned tax collection on its head for a lot of local jurisdictions. Previously, business tax collection was done primarily on paper and required staff in office to file returns and collect payments. However, since then, local governments are aware that they need to be able to solve compliance challenges with technology. The fact of the matter is you can't rely on people being in the office any longer to do the work. Additionally, the time and the energy that it takes to process paper means that they're not able to focus on more impactful activities. Today, business owners more and more are expecting to be able to engage with tax collectors online because most businesses are probably paying all of their other bills online already. Many businesses are entirely online. For example, I'm a remote first employee, meaning that I never go into the office. I'm in Atlanta. Our head office is in Austin, Texas. It's quite a commute. So that just means that more and more businesses are expecting, and in some cases requiring, that governments make things a little bit more easy for them. But the reality is that it's a challenge for everyone. In 2023, we surveyed local business owners and asked them to rate their experience with tax and licensing at the local level. 70% of them said that they just could not file business license applications online. 70% also stated that they had to manually calculate the taxes that they owe, including penalties and interest. And 70% said that even those that had online tax portals still needed to improve their process. Now, this survey feedback highlights what we're saying about how businesses feel about tax collection and the licensing process. They're unhappy. They want more. And in the conversations that we've had with tax collectors, we've identified a handful of concerns that they have that's kind of created this hesitancy to invest in an online portal. Many folks that we talked to indicated that business owners in their area are older and still like to use paper. But in reality, the average age of a business owner, according to the US Census, is about 50 years old. And more than 3/4 of new business owners are actually under the age of 54. The average age of a new business owner is actually only 34. So over time, business owners are getting younger and younger. Someone who's 34, they had a cell phone in high school, they joined Facebook in their teens, and they've lived the majority of their lives connected and online. So they expect to be able to run their business with online tools as well. Sorry. Some of the other things that we hear from folks are that, hey, the majority of our taxpayers live in a rural area and probably don't even have the internet. But in reality, high-speed internet usage in rural areas is up about 10% in the past 5 years. More than 3/4 of rural Americans have broadband at home. And for those that don't, 90% of adults across the entire country have a smartphone. So as connectivity, even in rural areas, increases, once again, the expectation from businesses moves towards those online tools. But the biggest challenge that I hear is, I'm not sure that my businesses are going to use it. And that's what we're going to address today. Did you know that 91% of all individual taxes are filed online? Which means that chances are your business owners are already filing their taxes online. So the question is not, will they use it? The question is, how do we encourage them to use it? So next, we're going to share with you some steps that you can take to encourage businesses to use the system. And so we'll get into each one of these, right? How do you encourage business owners to use the system? First, we're going to show you the features that you should look for that will enable businesses to be successful. Then we'll go through a list of jurisdiction-driven tasks that have a proven success rate so that you can improve your numbers of engagement. And then finally, we'll share some success stories of customers that have utilized our platform and some of the results that they've seen. Once I've gone through all that, we're going to show you a demonstration of some of those features and how you'll be able to use the tools in order to achieve these goals that you have. So before going to implement an online tax solution, what are some of the key features that we need to look for to ensure that businesses are going to utilize the platform? Number one, you need to go beyond just filing and payments. You want to find a solution that not only makes your life easier, but you want to make sure that you can focus on the value to the business owners as well. You want to give businesses a one-stop shop that gives them 24/7 access to the tools that they need to stay in compliance. You want to find a solution that is web-based and mobile responsive, because we know that even in those rural areas, 90% of adults have a smartphone and would be able to access the solution through it. So make sure that that easy to use interface is present so they can get in, do their work, and go about their day. Filing and payments need to be done easily with things like auto calculation to ensure that they're paying the correct amount, assigned tasks and alerts to let them know that they've got upcoming tax forms due or license renewals pending as well. And you need to give them options for payments, including credit card, ACH, bank transfers, and you need to enable them to track their balances and leverage any overpayments that they might have. Additionally, we want to ensure that they get more from the solution than just the ability to calculate fees. We want them to have tools that they can use to make their lives easier. Businesses should be able to update their account information without having to file a piece of paper in the mail or make a phone call. Moving simple tasks like this online makes life easier for the business owners, and it reduces the amount of work that your staff has to do as well. They should also be able to view their account. They should be able to view and print their licenses. They should be able to access their tax filing history. For businesses that aren't using those online solutions for these specific tasks, that means that there's more questions, more requests, more phone calls, or worse, stamps and envelopes that your staff has to deal with. And for those business owners that manage multiple businesses, you want to give them permissioned access so they can enable their staff to log in and manage their account, file taxes, pull down history. Some of your filers might be CPA firms that manage taxes for 10 or 15 businesses. And if you're operating short-term rentals in your area, there might be a property management company that has to come in and file on behalf of hundreds of different properties. So you need to give them the ability to do it in bulk. Bulk filing saves time, and it's something that they can only do through the online solution. Simply getting a handful of these businesses to file through a bulk filing solution can eliminate upwards of 40% of the returns that you get on an annual basis. It's a great way to get a large number of filings directed through the system. And most importantly, it gives you the ability and gives them the ability to manage those multiple businesses without having to switch logins. So there's a bunch of features that you should look for in order to make businesses successful. But now let's talk about the actions that you can take and how you can encourage businesses to use an online platform. So the first challenge we need to overcome is, how do I get businesses logged in and using the portal for the first time? And the answer to that is to make it as easy as possible. Now, the way that we do it is we do a launch notification that is sent to business owners to alert them of the new portal. With our notification tool, you can customize and personalize those letters so that they automatically include the business owner's name, address, and any other relevant information. And we do that because studies have shown that personalized messages actually lead to higher engagement over generic messages. Businesses simply use the account number and the personalized activation code that we provide in that notification, and they instantly gain access to the platform. Now, that initial launch is critical to getting business owners to start to use an online solution. However, we have to remember that a single launch campaign is just not enough. In fact, I don't even want to call it a launch anymore, because what we really need is a perpetual use campaign to drive adoption of that online solution. Relying on a single piece of mail to gain platform adoption simply is not enough. So you need to continually reach out to business owners and let them know about the program. Make a plan to engage business owners throughout the year, especially as filing deadlines approach. And then you want to hit them when they're most likely to take action to improve the likelihood that they're going to sign up. Another way that we encourage use of this solution is to incentivize business owners. Some jurisdictions that we work with have come up with creative incentives for businesses that opt to use the online solution, like extending deadlines for online filers or covering the cost of transaction fees. Now, here's an interesting statistic. Did you know that current marketing best practices indicate that it takes at least 8 touch points to convert or to get a target to take action? Now, this is another reason why we need to create an engagement campaign or an engagement plan, because we can't rely on only the mail to reach our minimum number of touch points, which is 8. To effectively squeeze out all that juice of our campaign, we need to create our marketing mix. Now, in marketing terms, the marketing mix is all the different avenues of communication that we use to reach our targets. And in this case, your targets would be your business owners. We want to create a variety of touch points to ensure that we're able to reach businesses in whatever their preferred channel of communication is. So what have some of our customers done to engage with their business owners? We've seen customers have success using some combination of the following methods. Number one, you want to launch the portal with a press release or partner with local newspapers or radio stations to announce or reintroduce that online filing process. Many jurisdictions have leveraged social media posts and campaigns to explain the new method, and they've used hashtags that are relevant to local businesses. Some customers have hosted webinars like these or town halls with live Q&A sessions to explain that new method and answer any questions that they get from businesses. Believe it or not, flyers and posters are still incredibly effective, especially in high traffic areas such as government offices, community centers, libraries, local or regional business meetups. So you want to identify a couple of these options and then create that marketing mix that will have the biggest impact on your business community. And don't be afraid to test things out. Now, while the how of your communication is important, that is like the method that you use to reach business owners, you also want to focus on the what you're going to say to them. Now, here it's important to focus not just on what the system does, but what the value is for the businesses. Simply saying, hey, you can file and pay your taxes online is not really enough to get businesses excited to use the system. So you want to focus on the benefits that the business will receive from the platform, something like this. The new online tax and licensing system gives you 24/7 access, so you can easily file taxes or renew licenses online. Additionally, business owners get access to account information like account balances, can view their tax history, and even bulk file if they manage multiple businesses. All these tools will save you time and lower your cost of compliance. So now if I'm a business owner and I hear that, that sounds a lot more valuable to me, and now I'm much more likely to try it out. So focus on the what you're saying as much as the how of the communication process. So next time, you want to also insert your business engagement into your daily tax and compliance processes. Every time you encounter a business that doesn't file online, it's an opportunity to get them to sign up. Remember that every business that uses the online portal is less time doing manual data entry, less time fixing errors on returns, less time chasing down people over checks that come in without penalties and interest. So how do we incorporate business engagement into our existing processes? Number one, whenever somebody calls, ask them if they know about the online filing portal. You can write yourself a script to make sure that you're clearly communicating the value and telling them exactly how they can sign up. Once again, you want to make sure to focus on the benefits to them so that they know that there's value in it. And chances are that the question that they called about could have been easily answered through the online portal anyway. Number two, you can create a kiosk for people that will come in and pay in person. One of our customers simply set up a laptop at their window, and whenever somebody came into the office, the first thing that they asked them to do was log into the system. Getting people to register is the hardest part, but once you get them in there for the first time and they see that they didn't have to leave the office to make a simple payment, then they're more likely to file online the next time. Additionally, getting them to sign up captures their verified email address, meaning that you can still send them alerts and notifications through the system, even if they continue to come in the office to pay. And finally, when you have people on site at a business, make sure that they're telling the business owner about the filing solution. There are many in-person interactions that city employees or county employees have with businesses, from inspections to audits. So you want to create a one-pager that you can drop with a business owner when you're on site and take the time to tell them about the portal when you've got a captive audience. Finally, you want to engage with the business community as well. There are plenty of organizations that are constantly looking for topics to discuss with their members. So engaging with these organizations is a great way to show off the portal to a large audience of business owners. Try reaching out to local chambers of commerce or business associations that have members in your jurisdiction. Local CPA firms would also benefit from tools like this because they can manage multiple businesses through a single login and bulk file on behalf of their business clients. Once again, you just want to maximize your reach so that businesses that are operating in your area have no excuse to not use the portal. So by following these best practices, we have seen some tremendous adoption from business owners across the country. Just two examples here. The Alaska Municipal League hosts our sales tax portal for businesses to file in their local jurisdictions. And after an engagement campaign supported by the association, 80% of all of the sales tax revenue in the state of Alaska is filed through that online portal. And at the local level, staff at Okaloosa County, Florida, have focused on encouraging businesses to file online instead of through mail by reaching out to businesses and explaining the value of the online solution, as well as de-incentivizing mail-in returns. Okaloosa has been able to get 99% of their monthly tourist development tax filings done online, which has dramatically reduced the paperwork burden on their staff. So, in conclusion, to improve online adoption of the tax and licensing solution, you need to improve your engagement with business owners. When communicating with business owners about the solution, be sure to focus on the value that it will bring to them by highlighting the features that go beyond just filing and payments. A single point of contact is not enough, so create an engagement campaign that uses multiple channels to continuously encourage online adoption. And finally, insert engagement into your process to ensure that at every touch point, you're improving your engagement with business owners. So now that we've concluded the first part of our presentation, we're going to switch gears here, and Austin is going to walk you through a version of our online tax and licensing solution, and you're going to get to see exactly how tools like this can improve the daily lives of your business owners in your community, ultimately to provide more value to them and to lower their cost of compliance. So Austin, take it away, man.
Alrighty, thanks, Matt. I'm going to share my screen and we will jump into it. All right, can you see that, Matt? Just make sure. Awesome. So before showing our solution, we really like to frame it from the perspectives of the groups of people that are involved in all this. So just kind of at a high level, you have three main groups. There's business owners, represented by Ben here. And of course, they're the ones paying the taxes, filling out forms, working with you. We have tax analyst in the middle. I put that label there. It's really anyone doing the day-to-day operations, working with these owners, tracking things, processing payments, that sort of thing. And then leadership, whether that's city council, that's county leadership, those that need the 30,000-foot view, because each one of these groups have their own priorities when it comes to filing taxes, and they have their own struggles, honestly. And you can see some of those listed out there. Those are what we hear across the country, a lot of what Matt's been talking about in terms of, hard to understand forms that owners are faced with. It takes a long time to hear back from their jurisdiction if they have a question. Maybe it's kind of a confusing process overall. But then, of course, on your side, there's a lot of data entry, manual work, payments that are coming in through the mail that are wrong, you have to fix, not a lot of data to work with. Of course, revenue leakage is a big issue in all this, which can make it hard to make decisions when you don't have all of those at your fingertips. So that's kind of what we're faced with. Good news, each one of those people are about to join GovOS on a journey to help them with some struggles. So this is going to act as my roadmap here just for the demo, breaking it down from those perspectives. So the first step, it's always some sort of outreach, like Matt's saying. There's all sorts of strategies we can take here with your taxpayers, letting them know that there's a new, easy to use portal for them to file their taxes online. We speak with jurisdictions around the country that say, their taxpayers, they're asking them for easier ways to do this. And so there's an initial outreach letter, a campaign, kind of the first step of sharing this good news with them. So once that happens, I want to take a look at what the taxpayer actually sees. What do these business owners, how do they work with the system, what they do in their portal? So that's going to be the first step here, looking at through Ben's eyes. He's a business owner, and let's see what he would see. So here it is. We're logged into Ben the taxpayer's portal, where he can access everything he needs to manage his business with a jurisdiction. In this case, we have the city of Springfield, my fictitious demo city. So just to give you a little bit of the lay of the land here, we have a welcome message at the top, totally configurable. It's all about the messaging that you want to convey to your taxpayers, what they can do here, what to expect. And then below there, we have tasks. So these are the self-service aspect of all this, things they can do themselves in their portal without having to rely on folks at the city or the county. They just pull up a task and complete it. So we'll look at a couple examples there. Below that, we track every single transaction that the owner has paid. So every tax payment, every fee, it's all logged here. They can see, when they paid, totals, they can view receipts, forms that were completed, that's all tracked. And then down below is where they can manage their accounts. And you'll see that I'm connected to several businesses here. And that's an important thing to point out is that, if I'm a serial entrepreneur, if I'm a property management agent, I work with several properties at a time, for instance, I've accessed all my accounts in one spot. A single login just kind of simplifies things from their perspective even more. So back to these tasks, I want to focus on these for now. So typically before a business starts paying their taxes, there's some sort of registration process, right? Whether that's a business registration, a tax certificate application, maybe even a business license that they need. So whether Ben's doing this for the first time, maybe starting a second business, typically, need to complete some sort of a task like that and get it approved before he can start actually paying taxes. So I have here a tax registration form that I've set up ahead of time, and I want to take a look at how that could work in the system. Obviously, it looks a little bit different with every jurisdiction, but this should give you a glimpse of at least what's possible. So first page in this task is, again, some sort of a communication, letting them know what they're going to need, what they're going to be doing here. Like Matt's saying, this is all about just getting everyone on the same page and emphasizing the benefits of doing it online. And that continues into the actual forms themselves. So I read through this, I click submit. And now it's time to actually fill out some sort of an online web form. That's typically part of this process. So we would build this out to your specifications. The questions that you ask of your taxpayers, that's what would be presented to them. Whether those include drop-down questions or pick lists, check boxes, text fields like this. So I'm just going to fill out a few of these, but it's just kind of in a standard online web form that folks would fill out when they're registering. So I'm just going to hit submit and just kind of page through this workflow. Oftentimes that's some sort of outside documentation that the jurisdiction needs just to prove, ownership or, copies of a driver's license, whatever those outside files are needed, that can be brought right into the application itself as well. So in this case, asked for a proof of ownership or lease agreement. So they just click a button, they jump right into their device and pull it out. So I have a certificate of ownership here. By the way, they could be doing this on their laptop. They could be doing it on their phone. We're totally cloud-based. Like Matt's saying, so all I need is an internet connection and they can fill this out very quickly. So I'm gonna submit my form, submit my attachment. Typically there's an e-signature asked for. In our world, that's just a name and a title and a date. Submit that. And then the last step, at least in this example, is a fee. Oftentimes there's some sort of a payment required for a registration or a renewal. In this example, it's just a flat $50. This can be dynamic. We can change the fee based on the type of business that's applying, or they make a selection on the first page that's going to change what they pay later. You could pay after an approval. In this example, I'm just going to pay up front. So we're very flexible in how we build this out for you. But in this example, I'm just going to pay the $50 up front. We have a little checkout screen here so I can see what I'm paying and I can choose how to pay too. So that's part of this setup, is integrating a payment processor as a way to actually receive the funds. Now we have our own over here at GovOS. It's called GovOS Pay. In fact, we recommend that to all of our customers because it's much faster for us to set up technically. It's also included at no extra charge. So it's just a kind of a streamlined way to collect the payments. And once it's all built out, it's just a matter of offering whatever methods you choose for them to submit a payment, whether that's an e-check, credit card, an ACH credit, if you allow for that. And as the owner, I just choose which one makes the most sense for me. Again, giving them options, trying to make it easy for them. So I'm going to choose the ACH in this example. There's the $50. I pay and I'm done. I've applied or I've registered. Transaction's complete. I've been emailed a receipt. And now if I go back to the home page of my portal, we can see that's now pending an approval by someone at the jurisdiction. Needs to review that and approve my registration typically. And down towards the bottom, this payment has been logged again in my transaction activity. So that's how it could look. It's a pretty simple process for the owners. It's really the exact same idea for renewals too. If you never need to renew a registration or a license, in either case, they log in, they see that renewal task, they open it up, they answer questions, possibly submit a payment, and they're done. They've renewed. So it doesn't really matter what kind of a quote unquote application you need. It's just a matter of our team building out a form, a workflow, assigning it to the right owners so they see it in their system and they can complete it themselves.
So, Austin, in conversations that we've had with folks all across the country, all of these applications and workflows and approvals are all a little different from state to state, from city to county. And I think that the more complex one of these processes is, the more error prone it is if you don't have a solution in place to manage it. And so by making things easier for the business owners, by having all of the information readily available, by having checks on the type of data that they put into the system, by requiring that documentation through the process, it makes it so easy and transparent for them that it actually reduces the amount of errors that occur and therefore improves the time to approval for these types of applications. And I imagine that tax is kind of a similar gain here, where we make it super easy for them and allow them to file and pay those taxes online. So why don't you show us a little bit of the tax filings as well?
Will do. Yeah. So similar idea in that a tax form is just another task that they do in their account. Typically with tax forms, since there's, due dates and filing periods, automatic emails are being sent out to all your owners informing them that a new tax form is available for them. Please log in and fill it out by so and so date. So there's some sort of a notification component typically. But again, Ben's going to log in. He'd see that waiting for him in his tasks. This one's a September lodging tax. So it's actually past due. I set this one due for October 1st. And that's even marked here in the portal, his little red circle with a line through it. So I really got to get this done. So I'm going to click on this link. And here is an example of a tax form. So this one's for collecting lodging tax. Our customers collect dozens of different taxes in the system, whether that's a payroll tax, a business occupation, cannabis tax. There's just a ton. But they're all structured in a similar way in that it kind of goes line by line. And on the right, you'll see yellow boxes and white boxes. Yellow is where your owners have to actually fill it out. They have to report numbers, like in this case, total charges for lodgings. And then the white boxes are all auto-calculated fields. And you'll see as an owner starts filling out numbers, so maybe I made $5,500 this period, already things are getting added up and totaled and calculated right here on the form. So the form's doing the work for them in a way. Because this one, since it's late, and we see that at the top, it's 2 months late. It was due on October 1st. Because of that, the penalties and interest are already starting to get tacked on and included at a total at the bottom. So there's no thinking the owner has to do. There's no math required. They just enter their numbers and they're going to see things calculate for them. That goes also for deductions. So maybe I had $50 worth of third parties that were collected. So we support all sorts of deductions, exemptions, if you had those on your form. And see, if I just start entering numbers, things get updated, automatically. So it's a really nice way to just make it easy for them to type in a few numbers, get a total, and they're done. You're confident that you're not seeing errors because, yeah, the form has been coded in such a way that it's doing those calculations for you. So I filled it out. Have in this period, let's say I owe $182.75. And if this form changed down the road, by the way, we can always update your tax forms. Again, it's a configurable system, so we're going to make changes and grow as you grow on the jurisdiction side as well. But I've filled it out. Typically, there's again e-signature at the bottom. Ben would type in his name, date, and submit, and you'll see here the same exact checkout process. We're trying to keep things familiar and repeatable so that nothing takes these owners by surprise. They see now, again, $182 in my shopping cart, and now I have to pay it. Same idea. They choose how they want to pay, whatever options you allow for, that's how they do. Again, I'm going to choose ACH and pay that total, and I'm done. It can be just that quick. Again, they can be doing this from their phone in their office in a matter of minutes, and they've paid their taxes for the period. That task is gone. The transaction is logged, and that's it. So that's how an individual could pay a tax form. Pretty easy. Now, if you have certain scenarios where users need to file on behalf of several entities at a time, so as Matt was saying, whether that's payroll companies or property management firms that are filing some sort of a occupancy tax on behalf of several properties at once, we can save them a ton of hours by allowing them to do it in one go with bulk filing. So it's time to do that. Agent just uploads a file that has their tax filing information on it already for all of their accounts. And once they submit the file, not only they can pay on behalf of all of those accounts in a single transaction, just one payment, but every tax form gets automatically filed behind the scenes as well. So everyone still has actual completed forms done for record keeping purposes. We just save a ton of time on the front end by removing the need to individually fill out each one.
Yeah, and the other cool thing about this is it's not just collecting the payments, it's actually filing the taxes, right? And so what you get with the solution is all of that deep transaction data that you need to use in order to provide feedback to other departments, to run analytics, to make strategic decisions, and even just to get into the accounting system to make sure that the interest and penalties is going into a separate account than the transaction for the tax form. All of that is done when you file online as well as pay. And so, once again, this is about not only making life easier for your businesses, but also reducing a lot of that manual work that goes into administrating these taxes on your staff as well.
Yeah, well said, Matt. And that's a good segue because, yeah, I think the emphasis of this webinar is on the experience for the taxpayers. But of course, there's a whole back end that the jurisdiction actually has to see, of course, and manage and track activities. So that's where I want to jump to next is what do you all see? How do you work with the system once these payments are coming in and the tax forms? There's a lot of processes that still need to take place on the jurisdiction level. So I want to show that. So behind this admin button is where you all have access to the internal side of this. So I'm going to click on that. And you'll see a few things here. We have in the main window, this is a revenue dashboard to see where you're at in this month, what's been paid, what's pending, how it relates to last year at this time. And every one of your taxes and penalties and interest and fees, those would all be laid out for you very clearly here. I mean, these are my kind of demo examples, but your line items, your SKUs, as we call them, would be shown and you can track those. We can graph it out for you. So that's kind of the main kind of daily monitoring window you'd see here. But then on the left, all the other aspects of the system that you can configure and track and update. So giving you a lot of access and control over what you can do, what's being presented to the taxpayers. We don't charge extra for users, so you can add as many folks on the city or county side as need be, and they can all kind of manage their corner, and you can restrict them from seeing certain things that they shouldn't have access to. So there's a lot of permissions that are available. I want to touch on a few of these just in the interest of time to give you an idea of what's stored here. There's plenty more we can talk about in the future, but I want to jump to at least a few. So start with businesses. This is essentially a database of every business in your jurisdiction. So it's all listed out here. We can build custom filters for you to find subsets, like by category, by city council district, by license type. There's all different ways you can slice and dice. But we collect a lot of information this is your source of truth for every account in the jurisdiction. So if I pull one up in particular, this 123 Main Street LLC, just to give you an idea, we have some basic information like where it's located. This profile section, these are all fields that would be answered on the initial registration form. So that data just flows right into their business record. There's no data entry you have to do. You can always see it. You can even update it if need be. Same is true of owner information. We have all sorts of statuses we can set for you so you can organize these the way that you want, the way that you care about. You can see what licenses are active on this business, what's still pending, what's expired, etc. So it's just a really complete view of what's going on, kind of current state of the business. But then beyond that, you can see all the users that are associated to it. They can have more than one user. If you have an owner, an accountant, and say a tax professional, they can all be joined to the same account. We have a list of everything they've paid. So every transaction on a business by business basis is stored here. Every notification that's been sent to them, whether that's an email or a letter, that's all tracked here as well. So you can see everything that's been communicated. So yeah, it's a current state. It's a historical record, just understanding where everyone is at. That's what this is all about, giving you a source of truth database of every tax paying entity in the jurisdiction. So that's a big one. Approvals is also big. This is a list of every single thing that needs to be approved by someone in the jurisdiction. So typically that gets back to the registration or the renewal. Whether that's one person who has to review it or a whole group, we can set up approvals for multiple departments to review applications that come in, mark their approval, and ultimately send an approval notice that, hey, you're now fully licensed, you're registered in the jurisdiction, you can now operate your business. So that's all managed here. Notifications we touched on a little bit. This is where you can actually track emails that are sent out. We use a simple system of templates. So the system pulls the correct template. It adds the recipient's information, like Dear John, Dear Ben, Dear Sally, and sends it out to them. Like Matt's saying, these are personalized messages that they would see and they need to typically take action on, whether that's a delinquency notice, a reminder, an approval. Those are all managed here in notifications. And then there's the whole, financial side to this is a big part of it too. So we can search for transactions very quickly if you need to find them by type or by date or by SKU item. To take that a step further, we can allow you to do reconciliations in here. So this is where accountants can come in and actually clear transactions that take place. You can also download a CSV file. In fact, we can open this up. Here's a previously completed reconciliation. In this general ledger tab, I can actually, once everything's been totaled up for this month or for this day, can actually export out a CSV of every transaction that's been cleared and import this into your general ledger. So kind of closing the loop on the transactions as a way to bring this into your GL in a very clean way. That's part of this too. So reconciliations is another component. There's also a module for managing audits, all kinds of fee configurations. I mean, just to sum this up, this is your home base to track everything related to a business, how they interact with the jurisdiction. It's a total source of record that really sets us apart, I think, and gives you the access and the time you need to really manage these to the level that's necessary, especially in growing jurisdictions. So that leads me to the last part of what I wanted to show, which is reports, because we have all this real-time data. Everything's being paid and updated, and every time a change is made, that's reflected throughout the system. Everything's instantaneous, real-time information. So why not make it usable? Why not turn that data into actionable decision making? That really starts with the reports that we offer. And reporting happens all throughout here. There's metrics kind of woven through all these modules, including up here at the start, this delinquency tab. I mean, we can see a list of every single business that's delinquent across the city or county up to the second. So in this particular case, I have 6 businesses that are behind on something. We can see over here that there's an open task that's past due, whether that's a tax form, whether that's a renewal. You can see an up to the minute list of every one that's missing something. So that's an example of a report. We actually have a formal reports module that has a number of pre-made reports that would be ready to go, all with your information. There's 16 of them here out of the box. And they're all kind of set up in a similar way in that if I open one here, make some selections at the top. So maybe I want to look at completed tax payments that were done last year as a way to make a projection for this year. So I'm going to choose status complete, transient room tax. I could break this down by area. I could break this down by business type if I wanted to kind of narrow my focus. But in this case, let's just look at all of them that were paid in 2023, hit update report. And now we have a table that's been generated in about half a second of every transaction that was paid. There's a total at the bottom. And I can even export this out to Excel. So if I wanted to make this look nice for a presentation, if I wanted to do more analysis, do some pivot table work in Excel, I could totally do that at the click of a button. So that goes for any of our reports. Generate them, export it out as need be. And the great thing about making it easy to export this is that we have customers that go even a step further to build some really cool dashboards with our data. So for instance, Okaloosa County, Florida, Matt mentioned them earlier, they're a customer of ours. They take this data, they plug it into Microsoft Power BI to create some really nice executive dashboards that they can monitor in real time. So this is actually their dashboards that they use. They're tracking things like number of accounts by area, collections by business type, taxes due. They've totaled up the gross receipts, and this is getting updated every single day automatically from our data that they're seeing in their system. So it's a really nice way to kind of bring this all together for that executive kind of summary. You can build out dashboards like this pretty easily and make it just a nice way to communicate what's happening. So that's about it. That's the journey that our friends went on one last time. Those owners, the kind of day-to-day operations, leadership, struggles they face. But guess what? They found GovOS. Good news. We've been able to help them. Owners are seeing more simplified tasks. They're hearing from the jurisdiction instantly. Now that you have emails, you can send out notices as often as needed. And then, of course, on your side, no more data entry. It's all streamlined. Emails are being scheduled. You're seeing the auto calculations on the tax form, so you're reducing errors and hand holding that's needed. And then at the highest levels, we have a better understanding of what's happening. We have the data that's being collected all in one spot. It's a single source of truth, which means higher compliance rates that they can see. And all the dollars that are owed, all the data that you have, hopefully can lead to more, strategic and informed decision making to guide your jurisdiction forward. So that's all I have for you. Thanks so much for your attention. I'll let Matt take it back from here.
Thanks, Austin. Great presentation. While we were going through, we did get two questions I wanted to address real quick before we moved on. Number one, there was a question about building out a license workflow. The question was, does there always have to be a fee in order to to complete a license workflow?
Absolutely not. So it's totally up to you. Our workflows are very configurable. If there's a fee, if there's not a fee, if there's a form, if there's two forms, we've seen it all, and we build it out to your specifications to match how you want to do things.
Awesome. And then the second question was, if the account has a short or if it has a credit, are businesses able to see that, and can they use that either to pay an existing liability or to re-up and make sure that they're fully paid on an account?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was showing the business record information, you might have noticed there was an account balance window over there on the right. And yeah, we do have customers who offer, overpayments, estimated payments. Folks get credits back if they overpaid, and those absolutely can be used to pay taxes moving forward. They can pay off, if there is some sort of a credit that's due after the fact. Yes, that is a way that we can configure it to allow owners to use those to make payments moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And 20 minutes in the solution really doesn't do it justice. So if you have more questions, or if you want to learn more about how our platform is designed and how it works to not only solve the challenges of business owners, but also to help solve the challenges that folks like you are experiencing all across the country, just let us know and we can schedule a time to talk about it in a little bit more depth. Now, in the last couple minutes, I'm going to switch, and we talked at the beginning about the value that this can provide for your businesses, but now let's focus on the value that this can provide for you and your staff. So over the past couple years, we've been having conversations with collectors all across the country that are collecting many different types of taxes from jurisdictions large and small. And we've taken all of that data and compiled it into this presentation to highlight on the key challenges and how these solutions can help solve those challenges. So we're going to talk about all that data that we've gathered from jurisdictions all across the country over the past couple of years. Of all of the challenges that we heard about, the number one biggest issue for tax collectors was manual and paper processing. Now, I've visited offices just like the ones that you guys are sitting in, and I've seen the rows and rows of filing cabinets and the giant stacks of paper that go to the ceiling. But it's not just the space that it takes up. Paper filing is difficult for you to process and difficult for your business owners to manage as well. Some common issues that we see with paper are math errors, missing data, businesses paying outdated rates, but the biggest challenge was the time. Paper processing takes a toll on you and your staff, and it eats up hours each day. Now, I know how hard everybody's working on this, long days, late nights, overtime, and when you get multiple filing periods that are all done at the same time, it can get crazy. But how much time are we talking about here? Based on the data that I've collected, on average, jurisdictions are spending about 77 hours of employee time each month on outdated paper processes. And when doomsday comes once a year and all of the quarterlies and the monthlies and the annual filings all come in at the same time, that can double, which means that over the course of the year, on average, offices are spending almost 1,000 hours each year dealing with paper. But what is the impact of all that lost time? Well, it's the opportunity cost. It's all the stuff that doesn't get done because you just don't have enough time in the day to get to it. Here we saw basically two pieces. There's the stuff that's not getting done and the stuff that we don't know. What's not getting done? Well, we're not collecting the data that we need to properly enforce the tax, like all of the transaction data, or we're not getting supporting documentation like W-2s or gross receipt filings. We aren't sending out notifications to help reduce the amount of enforcement that needs to be done. We aren't able to audit accounts or even collect penalties. Sometimes something is better than nothing, right? And then there's all the stuff that we don't know. We don't know if we're getting paid the correct amount from everyone. We don't know what our rate of compliance is. But the biggest red flag that I saw, we don't know how much money is being left on the table because we don't have the time or the proper tools to determine that. Many folks that I talked to said that their number one challenge was lack of time for enforcement. Other mentioned inefficient processes related to paper filing or outdated technology. And on the next couple slides, we're going to show you what folks said to us about each one of these challenges. So first was lack of time for enforcement, which came down to three main takeaways. Number one, the lack of time impacts many basic activities like ensuring people are paying in full. It's just not worth the time and the energy to go and collect a payment or chase down a business over a $50 late fee. Something is better than nothing. Higher level enforcement is also suffering. Collectors are putting eyes on returns because they're doing that manual data entry, but they're not able to do proper audits on accounts because it's too time consuming. They say we just have to keep moving. And the end result is that there's just money being left on the table. All these little misses add up over the course of the year. And I've heard estimates of tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars that's not getting collected. But many people that I spoke to had no real idea how much revenue is being missed each year. The second challenge we heard about was inefficient tools. Most everyone I talked to was frustrated with their current process of typing information into their computer software. And this manual entry, coupled with tools that don't really help automate the process, cause lots of frustration. Many people are stuck using tools that were not made for tax collection and lack the features that they need to operate efficiently, or they're stuck on old technology that hasn't been updated since the iPhone was invented. Reporting was a challenge for many collectors as well. Reports were pre-canned and can't be edited or changed, or everything has to get sent out to Excel and pieced together to get what you need. The end result is that providing even basic data to decision makers is really difficult, and trying to generate even higher level strategic data is simply not easy enough to do on a regular basis. But all of this can really be boiled down to this one final challenge, which I think is the root of all of it, which is old and outdated technology. Many tax collectors are not leveraging technology to solve these problems, and they're stuck using solutions that are inefficient, lacking key features, and while often inexpensive, are actually costing your offices tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars each year. What is the actual cost of that old technology? Well, it's the 1,000 hours of manual data entry that you're doing every year, wasting time on inefficient processes. It's all that money that's not getting collected because you don't have the time to do proper enforcement. It's all that missed opportunity to provide higher level data to your executive staff so they can make better informed strategic decisions to achieve goals. It costs your IT staff time and energy to manage and maintain old technology that's likely living in some closet somewhere on campus, and it's costing your businesses who are struggling with the cost of compliance because of that lack of electronic filing and payments. So how do we generate an ROI on something like this? Well, you want to look at the value that something like this is going to generate. You're going to get generation from automation. The time savings enables you to focus on those higher impact activities like enforcement. Eliminating all of those tedious processes means that you can go home on time more often. And with robust reporting tools, you can make better informed decisions to focus on strategic goals instead of on daily manual tasks. Additionally, there's that value to your business community, lowers their cost of compliance by enabling online filing, and gives them access to all of the tools that they need to manage their business through a browser. But the real ROI is generated through this process automation because your time is valuable. And every minute that you spend taking numbers from a piece of paper and typing them into a computer is a minute that's not spent on revenue generating tasks. there is a high likelihood that you will actually be able to generate a return on a project like this, because we've identified that most jurisdictions that employ these automations and these process efficiency improvements can generate upwards of 1 to 3% of additional revenue by focusing on enforcement. If you would like to see what kind of numbers you can see from your jurisdiction, let us know and we can run you through our ROI calculator. So to recap, you want to streamline your tax collection with integrated tools so that you can save your staff time and generate more revenue for long-term returns. You want to leverage powerful data to make better informed strategic decisions. And you want to make sure that all of that is done in order to improve the lives of your business owners and your general population in the communities.